The humid air of Manila clung to the small apartment like a heavy blanket. The room was scarcely larger than a storage closet, its walls stained with the years of tropical rain that had seeped in through tiny cracks. A single electric fan whirred in the corner, struggling to push away the oppressive heat. Amid the clutter of laundry, a battered school bag, and a rice cooker, sat a boy with the eyes of someone who had already lived 1,000 stories. His name was Miguel Antonio Santos, 10 years old, with a mop of black hair that stubbornly refused to stay flat no matter how much his mother tried to comb it. His feet dangled from the wooden stool, his knees too small to touch the floor. In front of him lay an old second-hand laptop, its screen cracked in one corner but still alive enough to stream videos. Miguel wasn't watching cartoons like other boys his age. Instead, his wide brown eyes were glued to a grainy recording of Luciano Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma. The opera notes rose, swelling like waves, and though Miguel didn't understand a single word of Italian, the music spoke to him in a language deeper than speech. He closed his eyes, lifted his chin slightly, and mimicked the maestro's posture. When the climax came, Miguel opened his mouth, and out poured a voice so pure, so unexpected, that even the pigeons outside the cracked window seemed to pause. His mother, Alma, who had been washing clothes in a plastic basin, stopped. Soap suds clung to her wrists as she turned, frozen, watching her boy. She had always known Miguel was special. His cries as a baby had carried a strange melody, almost like a song. But this was something else. The sound seemed to stretch beyond the boundaries of their apartment, reaching toward a sky that had so often been gray with storm clouds and poverty. "Migs," she whispered, tears prickling her eyes. "Where did you learn that?" Miguel smiled sheepishly, his small teeth crooked. "From the laptop, Mama. I listen, then I try." "You're singing like the big men in the videos," she said, still stunned. "They're giants, Mama. But maybe one day," he trailed off, his eyes drifting toward the window where children his age played tag barefoot in the alleyway. "Maybe one day, I can sing like them. Maybe even for the whole world." The weight of struggle. Alma's chest tightened. She knew dreams were dangerous in their world. Miguel's father had been a jeepney driver who vanished one rainy night 5 years ago, never returning home. Some said he had been taken by gangs, others whispered he had left for another family. Alma never knew. Since then, she had been mother and father, working endless shifts as a laundry woman and sometimes cleaning houses for wealthy families. Every peso mattered. Every grain of rice was accounted for. Opera was not food. Music was not rent. Yet, when she heard her son sing, Alma felt something shift in her bones. It was as if the universe was whispering, "This boy has a gift. Do not let it be buried." But opportunities for boys like Miguel were rare, almost impossible. They lived in Tondo, one of the poorest districts in Manila. Here, children grew up learning to survive, not to dream. Alma feared the world would crush her son before he even had a chance to spread his wings. Still, Miguel sang. Every day after school, he would race home, finish his homework, and then lose himself in the world of music. He borrowed his teacher's phone sometimes to search for new opera pieces, memorizing every inflection, every rise and fall of the notes. He didn't have formal training, but his ear was sharp, his heart even sharper. One evening, during a community festival, Miguel asked if he could perform. The organizers laughed at first, a tiny boy in flip-flops, singing opera. But when he stood on the rickety stage, clutching a toy microphone, the crowd went silent as soon as he began. His voice, soaring yet fragile, pierced the chaos of the night market. Vendors stopped shouting, tricycles slowed, and people gathered, their faces lit by awe. Some even cried. It was a neighbor who filmed the performance on her phone and later uploaded it to Facebook with the caption, "This boy is an angel. The world must hear him." The viral spark. The video spread faster than wildfire. Within days, it had thousands of shares, then millions. Comments poured in. Philippines, proud to be Filipino. Musical notes, this child sings like he's touched by heaven. Heartbreak, Simon Cowell needs to hear this boy. Miguel didn't understand much about social media, but he understood one thing: people far beyond his neighborhood were listening. He saw messages in English, Spanish, even Italian. His dream, to be heard by the world, was no longer just a fantasy whispered in the dark. Then one morning, Alma received an email that made her hands tremble so hard she nearly dropped the phone. It was an invitation. America's Got Talent wanted Miguel to audition. At first, Alma thought it was a scam. She couldn't imagine her son standing on a stage halfway across the globe, in front of the most famous talent judges. But after phone calls, video verifications, and even a representative visiting Manila, the truth became undeniable. They were offering flights, accommodations, and everything they needed. Miguel's chance had arrived. The goodbye before the leap. The night before their flight to Los Angeles, Alma lay awake beside her son. The apartment was quieter than usual, the neighbors having turned in early. Miguel's breathing was steady, his small frame curled against her side. She brushed a strand of hair from his forehead and whispered, "My son, when you sing, don't think about winning or losing. Don't think about money or fame. Just sing the way you do here, with your heart. The world needs to feel your heart." Miguel stirred, eyes half open. "Mama, will Papa see me if I'm on TV?" Alma's chest ached. She swallowed the lump in her throat. "Maybe, Anik. And if he does, he will know how proud he should be." Miguel smiled sleepily. "I'll sing for him, too. For you. For everyone who never got a chance." Alma kissed his forehead, her tears soaking into his hair. She didn't know what awaited them in America. She only knew this was bigger than both of them. Arrival in the land of dreams. The flight was Miguel's first time on a plane. His nose pressed against the window as he watched the clouds drift like cotton. "Mama," he whispered, "are we flying like angels?" Alma laughed softly despite her nerves. "Yes, Anik. Maybe the angels are flying with us." When they landed in Los Angeles, the scale of the city overwhelmed them. Skyscrapers rose like giants, cars hummed on freeways that seemed endless, and the air buzzed with possibility. For Alma, it was intimidating, for Miguel, it was exhilarating. At the AGT venue, children ran with balloons, performers rehearsed magic tricks, dancers stretched in corners, and everywhere was the hum of nervous excitement. Miguel, wearing a simple white shirt and neatly ironed black pants, clothes Alma had saved months to buy, looked around wide-eyed. "Mama," he said, "this is like a dream. Like I walked into the TV." Backstage, he clutched her hand tightly as they waited. His name was finally called. Next up, from the Philippines, Miguel Antonio Santos. The stage lights were blinding. The audience roared with curiosity at the sight of the tiny boy stepping forward. Simon Cowell leaned forward, skeptical but intrigued. "Hello, young man," Simon said, his British accent sharp. "What's your name? And where are you from?" Miguel's voice was soft but steady. "My name is Miguel. I'm 10 years old. I come from Manila, Philippines." "Amazing," Simon said. "And what are you going to do for us today?" Miguel swallowed, his heart thumping like a drum. "I will sing opera, sir." The judges exchanged surprised glances. "Opera? From a 10-year-old?" The audience buzzed with disbelief. Simon tilted his head, a faint smile tugging his lips. "Opera? At 10 years old? Well, this I have to hear. Good luck, Miguel." The music began. Miguel closed his eyes. And then, his voice soared. The first note slipped from Miguel's lips like a fragile ribbon of sound, trembling yet pure. At first, the audience leaned back, perhaps expecting a childlike attempt that would falter within seconds. But then the note grew, lifted, and carried through the vast theater with a clarity no one anticipated. The stage, the lights, the thousands of eyes, all of it melted away. Miguel wasn't standing in front of Simon Cowell or the cameras broadcasting to millions. He was back in his tiny apartment in Manila, standing barefoot on the stool, his cracked laptop screen glowing with Pavarotti's face. He was singing to his mother, to the sky above the slums, to the father who never returned. He was singing for survival. The awakening of the audience. As the aria rose, a hush spread across the hall. Conversation stilled. A child's giggle in the balcony stopped mid-breath. Even the cameramen seemed momentarily paralyzed, forgetting their angles. It wasn't just that his voice was powerful, though it was, astonishingly so for a boy so small. It was the emotion woven into every syllable, the aching maturity of someone who had lived through hunger, abandonment, and hope all at once. His voice carried sorrow, but also defiance. It carried fragility, but also courage. By the time he reached the crescendo, the theater seemed to shake. People clutched their chests. Some covered their mouths. A woman in the front row whispered, "Oh my God, this is a miracle." The judges' reactions. Heidi Klum leaned forward, her eyes glistening. "He's just 10, she whispered to Sofia Vergara beside her, who nodded, speechless. Howie Mandel tapped the table lightly, as if grounding himself. "That's not possible," he murmured. "That voice can't belong to a child." But it was Simon Cowell whose reaction carried the weight of the moment. The man known for his razor-sharp criticism, the man who rarely gave away emotion, was transfixed. His eyes locked on Miguel as if the boy were rewriting everything he thought he knew about music. His lips parted slightly, not in a smirk, but in awe. "Unbelievable," Simon muttered under his breath. Backstage, Alma's heartbeat. Behind the curtains, Alma pressed her hands together, her knuckles white. She had prayed for strength, not perfection. She had prayed her son would not stumble, that he would be remembered for trying. But as his voice filled the theater, tears streamed down her face. For years, she had scrubbed laundry until her fingers cracked, wiped sweat from her brow while mopping marble floors in houses that weren't hers. She had given up dreams of her own long ago. But watching her boy command the world stage, she realized, his dream was hers, too. "This is your moment, Anik," she whispered. "Fly."